Welcome and good morning, Europe, as we kick off our final semifinal reaction to the Women's Euros. Germany and Spain, España for the ISB show. We will cover that match in totality right now. There was some crazy moments. There was some big moments. It was overall a fantastic match between two European powerhouses. Ishana, we're going to talk about it all right now. And of course, Spain got it done a little bit extra in the tank. But let us start off with Germany's defense because they made this very, very tough on Spain throughout the entire match.
Yes, it was. Germany just defensively a wall, just so compact, so great. They played so excellently. We got Ket, who's such a young player, doing so much work on that wing. And really, I thought their defense was honestly pretty strong until Kleinhern got hurt. And that was such a sad moment because they were already missing so many players, due to suspensions, obviously, often of their own doing. But, they were already missing depth on that bench. And it was just so unfortunate to see that. And I really do feel like that is when things shifted a little bit.
Yeah. And the Spanish side they played, of course, we all know that Spain is, of course, the class of this tournament, but we're going to get to Spain in a second. But there's one thing I want to mention is very early on, Bühl had a chance to put Germany ahead, and she's probably going to regret that miss. In fact, she had two golden gilt edge chances throughout the entire match, which really would have changed the complexion of the match. Right off the bat, that's such an important moment to put a goal in like that in against Spain because you don't get a lot of opportunities against the Spanish team.
I agree, but also these were not bad shots. And it was one of those things too. I mean, Spain also did hit the post and there's that as well, but even the one at the end that Schuler had could have gone in. Maybe we should have seen her play earlier. I don't know. It seemed like they were a little bit unlucky in that sense, but also there were a couple times where there were crosses with no players there as well.
Yeah, it was interesting because, as much as Spain dominated obviously the possession, which they do in every single match, I actually thought in the first half that Germany had the better opportunities. I felt in a sense, right? So it was that situation where I think that the more dangerous opportunities were actually German.
I agree. I think Esther had that one that was obviously that was Berger, very hard to get past her. But very early on, it seemed like Germany. I mean, again, that is kind of how you play a team that's better on you. You start on your front foot, and then after you kind of go into defensive play, and that's what they did. How they secure that goal, it probably would have been a different story.
It would have been a different story. So let's talk about the match as a whole, right? So Spain, as Spain does, who stood out for you in this match for Spain? Because there was a lot of players that we normally saw that were maybe we thought, okay, they're going to provide the moments of brilliance, and the moment of brilliance in the end is Bonmati herself, who scores the goal. We'll talk about the goal in a second. But in regulation, was there anything that stood out for you?
I mean, not really, to be honest. I think that I I thought Esther was actually playing pretty well, and I really think that she maybe subbed Paraluelo on a little bit quickly, and she's a handful. She's so much to deal with, but I thought she was a little heavy on her touches today, and
Yeah.
I really thought I think she might have scored had she stayed on the pitch. I didn't quite understand that substitution, especially when you have a a bench that's this deep. I thought Puteas was a little quiet today.
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting a little bit more that way. I thought Katakole had a great game. Obviously, she got that save towards
Yeah,
the
let's
end.
let's talk about that because despite everything in this match, Spain dominated the possession, dominated the opportunities in the match. But at the very end of regulation, I thought Germany was going to win because on the initial shot, Katakor makes the save, but is only able to parry it out. And Vomser, what an opportunity you have to score in that moment. You have to just take that shot and score. Katakoi makes a fantastic save.
Yeah, I mean, do you have to score, or was that just a great save? It was instincts, it was everything. And I should point out that they had some great shots on target as well that Berger saved throughout the game. So even though we're going to talk about that PK, that might have been her one omission of the game at such a big, big pivotal moment. However, it's just hard to focus on that because she played excellently the entire game. She had world-class saves multiple times.
Yeah. So let's get to the moment that you're talking about, right? So what do you think of that particular moment?
I mean, Bonmati, I think, meant to cross it, and perhaps she got lucky. Okay, fans out there, was there a tiny bit of a deflection? Because I literally looked at the play so many times, and I don't know if it just kind of skirted off of the German defender. However, regardless whether it was intended to be a cross or not, that is Bonmati. She's so good at placement. Has so much precision. Yes, she caught Berger sort of off, and she should have been on that near post. But again, it's really hard to expect that of her when she carried the team throughout not just this game, but other games as well.
Yeah, it was an interesting play. I thought what really made the play for me was Bonmati letting the ball run through, because that was a brilliant move on the pass that she received. And she just kind of let the ball run through, and that set up an opportunity. I have a little bit of a different take. I think she saw Berger playing out a little bit, so I think she saw the opportunity to shoot. I did see that the slight deflection. I don't know. I'd love to hear from the fans as well if that took a deflection or not. I thought maybe just slightly touched the German defender. But either way, you see Berger was pointing ahead, and I think that Berger cannot let a goal like that go in. I know she played a fantastic match, fantastic tournament as a whole, but she's definitely going to want that one back.
Yeah, and she's gonna be kicking herself after, I'm sure. And they were so close. If we're going as a whole throughout the tournament, Spain obviously is the stronger team, and they probably deserve to go to the final. But Germany just, with anything, this tournament has taught me that it's playing well as a unit can win games, but ultimately what gets you further in a tournament is having depth. And I think that is what teams like England and Spain have that maybe these other teams do not. However, they can certainly develop. And it just kind of reinforced how important that is, because having a plethora of people, we didn't even see Vicky Lopez play, for example, today. That's what sustains you when people start getting tired, when they lose morale, this and that. And I think that's what separates teams like an England, a Spain, a United States, perhaps a Japan from these other teams that will continue to improve. And we're already seeing this depth. I mean, we saw some nice play from the younger generation in this game. And yeah, I think Germany, they're kind of mixed in ages on their squad, but they could be the next, if this young generation, hops up, they could be the next big hitters.
Yeah, and Germany, of course, this was the match between the two highest ranked teams in Europe. But instead of that, right, we're gonna get another matchup. We saw it in the World Cup final. We've seen it now in the men's Euros. And now, of course, for the final, we get Spain and England again in the final, right? So it's funny. We see just a year later, we see England and Spain in the final. So I think there's a lot to talk about with regard to who's going to actually get this done, but we won't really focus on that. But in the end, I think, what did the Spanish team show you today that, kind of showed? I think it's safe to say that Spain is obviously going to be the favorite in this match, based on how they performed in the tournament. But let's see how they do in the final.
Yeah, I think they have a little bit more chemistry with each other, specifically in the back, even starting with maybe Katakol, like communicating with that defensive line. And something I think, for example, that Berger did well in this game, you can see there was one where she kind of held off her defenders and she was like, no, I got it. I'm going to get it. It's those kind of mistakes I've been seeing in the back with England. So I would say if you want to catch them anywhere, that's where you're going to catch them. throw them off on their defensive line, and perhaps there will be some confusion with Hampton and this and that. But I think if England can focus on minimizing those unforced errors, it can be a really strong matchup and a very equal matchup. And it just depends on which England team we get. They do have a day more of rest. So there's that as well. You know, Spain's really been through the ringer too on their side of the bracket. So, you know, we never know. I think Spain is the favorite. I think they could either dominate them and completely it could be like a 3-0 on the scoreboard, or it could be something that is neck and neck and perhaps goes to overtime, just kidding, extra time, and England pulls through. Maybe they pulled through in PKs. I don't know. You know, I think it's gonna be one or the other though. I don't think it's gonna be, I don't see England hammering Spain. I don't think that's a scenario. I think either we see a very tight game where one of them emerges victorious, or we see a blowout.
Yeah. I think that's what we're going to do and see in this matchup. But of course, got to say final thoughts on Germany, because Germany played a fantastic tournament. Great match in this matchup as well. You know, some strong performances. Like I said, if Bühl had scored it could have been a different story, different match. But congrats to Berger and the German team, and congrats to Spain, who's been the dominant team this entire tournament. So for everyone out there enjoying these videos, let us know your thoughts on this match. Let us know your thoughts on the final, who's going to win, all that stuff out there. Shauna, final thoughts before we wrap here.
My final thoughts are just that I said this last time, I'm going to say it again. I think we've seen some great goalkeeping throughout this tournament, perhaps with exception for this one goal in this game. And I hope that we have another great final of top quality goalkeeping, so that produces top quality goals as well. Because I love pretty goals, and that's what I want. I want some pretty goals.
We have seen a fantastic tournament, and we have reached the final now. Congratulations again to Spain for making the final. Congratulations to England for making the final yesterday. And we will see you all soon. Keep watching women's football. Keep watching the Women's Euros, and keep watching the beautiful game. See you after the final.